Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello learners, I am Dr. Rekha Sharma, Professor, UGC Human Resource Development Center, Rashtrasanta Tukaroji Maharaj, Nagpur University, Nagpur. In this video, we shall study lipids. Now the learning objectives. After studying this unit, the student shall be able to describe the composition of fats and fatty acids, classify lipids or fats, describe different types of fatty acids, state functions of fat, and discuss requirements, excess and deficiency of fats. Now, fats are the concentrated sources of energy in our diet. They form an important part of our daily food. Though we mainly consume fats in the form of butter, ghee, oils, etc., some amount of fat is also present in foods like milk, nuts, and meat. Now let us see what are lipids. The term lipid is used to denote fats and oils. Lipids which are solid at room temperature are referred to as fats, and those which are liquid are oils. They are insoluble in water but soluble in solvents like ether, chloroform and benzene. Now let us study the chemical composition of fats. Fats are made up of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. It contains more carbon and hydrogen but less of oxygen compared to carbohydrates and proteins. That is why lipids provide more energy per gram than carbohydrates. When fats are oxidized in the body, they give 9.1 calories per gram of fat. Now, fats are composed of glycerol and fatty acids linked together to form ester. 1, 2 or 3 fatty acids may be esterified with glycerol to form monoglycerides, diglycerides or triglycerides respectively. The most common form of food fats are triglycerides or triacylglycerols. Triglycerides are made up of 3 fatty acids esterified to the glycerol molecule. This we will study in the next slide. Now let us study chemical composition of fats with the help of this chemical structure. Now this is a formula or structure of glycerol. This is glycerol, CH2OH, CHOH, CH2OH. Now when it combines with fatty acid, this is the first fatty acid, which is fatty acid is nothing but a carbon chain. One end of carbon chain is methyl group and the another chain is carboxyl group or COOH group. This is the first fatty acid, this is second fatty acid and this is the third fatty acid. So there are 3 fatty acids and these 3 fatty acids will combine with a molecule of glycerol. Now let us see what will be the resultant product. Now when this glycerol combines with only one fatty acid, it is known as monoglyceride. When it combines with 2 fatty acid, it is known as diglyceride. And when this glycerol combines with all 3 fatty acids, it is known as triglyceride or neutral fat. Now along with formation of this triglyceride, 3 molecules of water are also formed. So this is how one glycerol molecule combines with 3 fatty acids and the resultant product is triglyceride or neutral fat, and along with triglyceride 3 molecules of water are also formed. Now in the definition we have studied that triglycerides are made up of 3 fatty acids esterified to the glycerol molecule. Now what is this esterification? Now in esterification, this oxygen of glycerol, it combines with C double bond O group of this fatty acid, and this is known as formation of an ester. This is the first ester which is formed, this is the second ester, and this is the third ester. So it is the esterification process. So esterification or ester formation is nothing but when a carbon is connected to 2 oxygen, but one of the oxygen is not connected to anything else, so it is double bonded to the carbon while the other oxygen is connected to another carbon. So this is ester formation. Now let us study the classification of fats based on chemical structure. Now they are classified as simple lipids, compound lipids, derived lipids, and sterols. Now simple lipids. Simple lipids are made up of 3 fatty acids attached to glycerol, and after degradation they give only 3 fatty acids and 1 glycerol molecule. They are further classified as neutral fats, that is esters of fatty acids with glycerol, for example fats and oils, and second example is wax. Fatty acid with alcohol other than glycerol results into waxes, results into formation of waxes. Now in this example you will find this is known as simple triglyceride because all 3 fatty acids are same, but when all these 3 fatty acids are different, they are known as mixed triglycerides. Now triglycerides are the major form of lipids present in human dietaries. They are the major sources of fatty acids to the body. Now compound lipids. Compound lipids are simple lipids where one of the fatty acids is replaced by non-lipid group, for example carbohydrate, protein or phosphorus. With carbohydrates they form glycolipids, with proteins they form lipoproteins, and with phosphorus they form phospholipids. Now third is derived lipids. Derived lipids are the breakdown products of fats and include monoglycerides, diglycerides, glycerol and fatty acids. Now sterols. Sterols are not made up of fatty acids and glycerol, but they have a benzene ring structure. They have a benzene ring structure. These fat-like substances include cholesterol, fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E and K. Now we will study fatty acids. Fatty acids, they are chains of carbon atoms with a methyl group. Methyl group is CH3 group, or this group is end is also known as omega end, and a carboxyl group at the other end. This is COOH group or acid group, and this is the another end. So one end of fatty acid is made up of methyl group, that is known as CH3 group, and this end is also known as omega end, and the another end is known as acid group or carboxylic acid group. Now the general formula of fatty acids is CH3 CH2 N times, COOH, where N varies from 2 to 22. Now this CH2 which we have written here, this number may vary from 2 to 22. Now let us study the classification of fatty acids according to the length. First is short chain fatty acids. They have less than 6 carbon chain length, that is smaller than caproic acid. Butter contains small chain fatty acids. They are also obtained during fermentation. Second is medium chain fatty acids. They have 6 to 10 carbon chain length. They are present in butter and coconut oil. They are recommended in liver disorders due to ease in their absorption. Third is long chain fatty acids, and they contain more than 12 carbon chain. Now examples are lauric acid, myristic acid. They are known to be atherogenic. Palmitic acid and stearic acid are major fatty acids present in diet, and their derivatives are equally important. Now we shall study classification of fatty acids according to degree of saturation. Now first is saturated fatty acids. Saturated fatty acids have single bonds between carbon atoms. Now here you can see there are no double bonds. So without double bonds, it is known as saturated fatty acid. Second is unsaturated fatty acid. Unsaturated fatty acid means fatty acids which have one or more double bonds between the carbon atoms. Now in this diagram you will find there is one double bond between the carbon atoms. So this is known as unsaturated fatty acid. Now fats which are rich in saturated fatty acids or SFA exists in solid form. Examples of saturated fatty acids are butyric acid, which is present in butter, stearic acid found in animal fat and plant oil, lauric acid found in palm kernel and cinnamon. Now unsaturated fatty acids. Unsaturated fatty acids have one or more double bonds. Now fatty acids having single double bond are called as monounsaturated fatty acids or MUFA, whereas those having two or more double bonds are called as polyunsaturated fatty acid or PUFA, polyunsaturated fatty acid or PUFA. Now monounsaturated fatty acid. Oleic acid is a monounsaturated fatty acid and has one double bond. It is found in groundnut, olive oil, corn oil, etc. They may help lower down blood cholesterol levels. Now polyunsaturated fatty acids or PUFA. Polyunsaturated fatty acids include linoleic acid, which has two double bonds, and linolenic acid, which has three double bonds, and arachidonic acid, which has four double bonds. They help in lowering blood cholesterol levels and prevent atherosclerosis and coronary heart disease. Now hydrogenation. Hydrogenation is, now unsaturated fatty acids are highly reactive to oxygen at the point of unsaturation and turn rancid. So hydrogen is added during hydrogenation of oils. Now the more number of double bonds, the more unstable is the fat. Now in this diagram you can see, in the first diagram there are two double bonds. Now after hydrogenation, these double bonds are converted into single bonds and these fatty acids become hydrogenated. Food fats are generally a mixture of both types of fatty acids. Natural fats contain more than one kind of triglyceride molecules. Fats are mixtures of triglyceride molecules differing in length and in degree of unsaturation of fatty acid chain. For example, butter contains 13 different fatty acids esterified to glycerol. Both fats and oils are triglycerides, but fats have a higher proportion of saturated fatty acids and are solid at room temperature, while oils have more unsaturated fatty acids and are liquid at room temperature. Now, the most important part of this video is essential fatty acids. Like essential amino acids, they are essential fatty acids also. Now, two of the polyunsaturated fatty acids, that is POFA, cannot be synthesized by the body and have to be provided in the required amounts by our diet and are called essential fatty acids. So, they are linoleic acid or also known as omega 6 fatty acid and linolenic acid or also known as omega 3 fatty acid. Now let us study the difference between this omega 3 and omega 6 fatty acids. Now location of the first double bond from omega end of the fatty acid denotes its name. For example, in case of linoleic acid, there are two double bonds and from the methyl end or omega end, it is the sixth carbon atom where the first double bond appears. Now, first, second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth. In the sixth carbon atom, the first carbon double bond appears. Hence, it is known as omega 6 fatty acid. Whereas in case of linolenic acid, now what happens? This is the omega end. From the omega end, it is the third carbon atom, first, second and third carbon atom where the first double bond appears. So it is known as omega 3 fatty acid or alpha linolenic acid. So this is the concept of omega 3 and omega 6 fatty acids. Now cis and trans fatty acids. You must have heard about trans fatty acids nowadays. Now what are they? Cis isomers are those when both hydrogen atoms are placed on the same side of the double bond. It is known as cis isomer. And in trans isomer, hydrogen atoms are placed on either side of the double bond. On either side of the double bond. Hence it is known as trans fatty acid. Now trans fatty acids are produced either by hydrogenation of unsaturated oils or by biohydrogenation in the stomach of ruminant animals. Vanaspati ghee and margarine have high contents of trans fatty acids. A number of studies have shown an association of trans fatty acid consumption and increased risk of cardiovascular diseases. This increased risk is because trans fatty acid increase the ratio of LDL cholesterol to HDL cholesterol, that is low density lipoprotein cholesterol to high density lipoprotein cholesterol, which you will be studying in the higher classes. Now the functions of fats. The very first function is energy. Fats are the richest sources of energy. 1 gram of fat gives 9 kilocalories, which is more than double the amount obtained from equal amounts of carbohydrates and proteins. Second is protein sparing action. Like carbohydrates, fats also perform the function of protein sparing function. The energy or the kilocalories from fat spare dietary proteins from being oxidized for energy. An adequate intake of fat in the diet allows protein to perform their main functions of growth and maintenance. Now, the third function is thermal insulation. Subcutaneous fat, that is, the layer of fat under the skin, acts as an insulation and helps in retaining body heat. Fourth function is protection of vital organs. Fats act as a cushion to important organs in the body and protect them from shocks and external injuries. Fifth function is absorption of fat soluble vitamins. Fat is necessary for the absorption of fat soluble vitamins, that is vitamin A, D, E and K. Essential fatty acids. An adequate intake of fats and oils is necessary to meet the body's requirements for linolenic and linoleic acids. Now, seventh function is synthesis of cell membrane. Fats are an important constituent of all cell membranes. Eighth is synthesis of hormones. The lipid cholesterol is necessary for the synthesis of some hormones, for example, sex hormones. Ninth is satiety value. Fats slow down the secretion of gastric juice and speed of digestion. Hence, it gives the feeling of satiety. 10th is palatability. Fats are used for cooking and frying so that the food becomes tasty and acceptable. Now coming down to sources of fats. Fats are obtained from vegetable as well as animal sources. Now, vegetable sources. Vegetable cooking oils are extracted from oil seeds and nuts such as groundnut, mustard, sesame, that is til, soybean, sunflower, safflower, cottonseed and coconut. All hydrogenated fats and margarine are sources of lipids. Now, animal sources. Milk, egg yolk and fats like ghee, butter, cream, fish liver oils are some of the fats of animal origin. Mutton, pork, fish, poultry, cheese and organ meats are animal sources of lipids. Now, this slide will help you to understand the different sources of fats at a glance. Now, lipids or fats, vegetable oils which are solid at room temperature are called as fats. Examples are cocoa butter, coconut oil, vanaspati, palm oil and palmolene. Now, vegetable oils which are liquid at room temperature, examples are groundnut, sesame, sunflower, safflower, rice bran, corn, mustard and cottonseed oil and olive oil. Then animal fats. Examples are butter, lard, tallow, suet and marine oils. Examples are cod liver oil, shark liver oil, halibut oil and whale oil. Now, a concept of visible and invisible fats. Any diet comprises of visible fats and invisible fats. Visible fats are the fats and oils used as such at the table or used for cooking. For example, vegetable oils, ghee, mayonnaise, butter, cream, etc. Now, invisible fats are present actually as an integral component of different foods. Hence, flesh foods, whole milk, peanuts, soya bean, nuts, and oilseeds, spices, etc. have a high invisible fat content. Cereals contain only 2 to 3% of invisible fat, but they constitute bulk of Indian diets and thus contribute significantly to overall fat intake. Now let us study the requirements of these fats in the diet. Indian Council of Medical Research 2020 has suggested upper limit of visible fat intake of 25, 30 and 40 grams per day for adult men of sedentary, moderate and heavy activity respectively. Fat intake of 20, 25 and 30 grams per day for adult women of sedentary, moderate and heavy activity groups respectively have been suggested. The intakes of individual fatty acids in Indians are consistent with FAO WHO 2008 recommendations. Now, calories from saturated fat should not exceed 10% of total calories, and at least 10% calories should be provided by polyunsaturated fatty acid or PUFA to ensure an adequate intake of essential fatty acids. The correct ratio of omega 3 to omega 6 fatty acids should be maintained. ICMR 1998 recommends for omega 6 to omega 3 ratio of 5 to 10 and PUFA to SFA of 0.8 to 1.0. Hence, the choice of cooking oil should be moderate linoleic acid content oils such as groundnut oil, rice bran oil or sesame oil or soybean oil containing both linoleic and alpha linolenic acid and combination of two oils in approximately equal proportions. Use high linoleic acid oils like sunflower, safflower oil and cottonseed oil with palm oil which contains low linoleic acid or mustard oil containing alpha linolenic acid along with any other cooking oil because this will reduce erucic acid which is present in mustard oil and it may cause some undesirable health effects. The cholesterol intake should not exceed 200 mg per day. A variety of cooking oils should be used to ensure consumption of essential fatty acids. Now let us study the deficiency of fats. Lack of fats in the diet basically causes lack of energy. This leads to underweight, tiredness and reduced work efficiency. A deficiency of fat causes a deficiency of essential fatty acids, linoleic and linolenic acids and subsequently a deficiency of arachidonic acid. These polyunsaturated fatty acids are required for healthy cell membranes and their permeability. A deficiency results in characteristic eczema or skin lesions. It is seen in infants as dry scaly lesions on the skin, toad skin or dry papules are seen on upper limbs. A deficiency of fat may result in a deficiency of fat soluble vitamins and growth and weight may be affected in children. Since fat is present in minute quantities in almost all foods, including cereals and pulses, a deficiency in adults is unlikely because these foods are consumed in large quantities. Now, what happens when excess amount of fat is consumed? The percentage consumption of fat varies widely in different regions and in different income groups. The percentage consumption of fat increases directly with income, and today it is a major problem faced in urban areas and changing lifestyles. Excess intake of fat causes obesity because more kilocalories or energy is consumed than required by the body. Now, excess fat is stored in adipose tissue. Excessive consumption of saturated fats can elevate blood cholesterol levels. A high intake of saturated fats and cholesterol are predisposing factors for cardiovascular diseases, while foods rich in omega 3 fatty acids have a protective effect. Now, let us summarize. Fats, oils, and fat like substances belong to a group of substances collectively known as lipids. Lipids are made up of one molecule of glycerol and three molecules of fatty acids. Fatty acids may be saturated, monounsaturated, or polyunsaturated. Two fatty acids which are polyunsaturated, namely linoleic and linolenic acid, are essential as they cannot be synthesized by the body and must be present in the diet. They belong to omega 3 and omega 6 fatty acids, which are essential for maintaining the integrity of cell membranes and lowering blood cholesterol levels. Depending on whether saturated or unsaturated fatty acids are present, the fat is solid or liquid at room temperature. Different foods contain different percentage of fat. Visible fats are fats and oils used for cooking or used as such, whereas invisible fats are fats present naturally as an integral component of different foods. Indian Council of Medical Research, that is ICMR 2020, has suggested upper limit of visible fat intake of 25, 30 and 40 gram per day for adult men of sedentary, moderate and heavy activity respectively, whereas for adult female it is 20, 25 and 30 grams per day for sedentary, moderate and heavy activity respectively. Lack of fats in the diet basically causes lack of energy. This leads to underweight, tiredness and reduced work efficiency. Excess intake of fat causes obesity because more kilocalories are consumed than required by the body. These are references. With this, we have finished a chapter on lipids. Now in the next video, we will study vitamins. Thank you.